Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of WWE NXT Vengeance Day 2025. Also, I will be giving my thoughts on the results of AEW Grand Slam Australia. That will be later. We'll talk about that after I recap NXT. This NXT show was in Washington, D.C., about 4,000 fans, small, intimate venue. Let's talk about it. By the way, shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. If you're watching live, feel free to leave a super chat, a tip. Let me know you're enjoying the video. Now, let's get to Vengeance Day. We kicked off the show with the NXT North American Championship match. Fallon Henley versus Stephanie Vaquer. Good opening match to start off the show. They made a big deal, WWE did, of the importance of the title. You had several female NXT stars watching the match at ringside. You had some outside interference in this match. JC Jane and Jasmine Nix were on the outside, and they were getting involved, helping Henley get the advantage. But then Vaquer was able to make the comeback, and she ended up taking out everybody. She went after all three women, despite the numbers being against her. Vaquer was able to overcome, and she pinned Henley with the spiral tap to become the new North American champion. I predicted this one correctly. Vaquer, she's on a roll right now. They're building her up as one of the main stars of NXT. Strong match to kick off the show. And considering how it ended, I could definitely see why the decision was made for Stephanie to win here and not have her go on the chase for a while longer. We'll talk about that later. We had our second match of the evening, which was Nathan Frazer and Fraxium, as some people like to call them, going up against Josh Briggs and Yoshiki, can't even pronounce his name, Inamura. Never seen him wrestle before. This was for the NXT Tag Team titles. Fraxium always have good matches on these shows, whether it's NXT or TNA Wrestling. They always provide the entertainment, and this one was no exception. And you had the smaller, faster wrestlers versus the bigger wrestlers dynamic in this one. Josh Briggs, he's a big dude, and he was using his power. And you had Inamura doing the chops and doing the hard-hitting offense. But Fraxium, they move like lightning. They're very quick. Always fun when they're in the ring. And it was your standard match in the beginning, but then things broke down and everyone came in with some big moves. You had some double teaming, lots of double teaming from both sides. And then Axiom was able to gain the upper hand. Axiom hit the top rope Spanish fly to Inamura, and then Briggs ended up giving Frazier a top rope chokeslam onto Axiom. And then Inamura tried to finish off the champs, could not do so. He missed the top rope splash. And then Briggs was taken out, and Inamura got pinned. Champions retain. I mean, this one, it was a fun match. It was predictable, but I expected this considering that the Hardys have teased a match with Fraxium, and I think we'll see that match possibly at Stand and Deliver. Definitely was not expecting a tag team title change here, but it was a fun tag team match. Like I said, Fraxium always delivers. Next up, we had Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorp in a strap match. Now, these guys started fighting before they even got strapped together. And eventually Williams got them both strapped up. But then he went up on top and got pulled off the top by Thorp. And Thorp was using all sorts of tactics with the strap. He tied up Williams's legs together. He wrapped Williams up against the ring post. He was whipping him in the back, whipping him in the chest. And then Williams was eventually able to make a comeback, and he used the strap for a submission, and he gave him some whippings. And then Thorp used the strap for a low blow. And of course, in the strap match, anything goes. And then Thorp got the win with the knee strike, which a lot of people thought was an upset. You had the announcers making a big deal out of it. I'm a little surprised too. I went with Williams on this one. I felt like they were going to wait until maybe after Stand and Deliver to have Trick Williams move to the main roster, but I'm wondering if this is it for him. And he goes on. I've said this on other streams. I really do think that he should team up with Carmelo Hayes again. I think that they were best off together as a team, and WWE's tag division could really use a shot in the arm. But it was a good match, good strap match here. I'm a little surprised at the outcome. Eddie Thorp, I don't know. He's all right, but to me, he really doesn't stand out much. Trick Williams has the whole superstar entrance and everything. And this was solid. I do think you got to go with Williams on the main roster at this point. But like I said, I think he's best off in a tag team for the time being. Next match we had was Jevon Evans versus Ethan Page. And this match was very personal. Jevon Evans had to sign a waiver that he would not try to hold the company accountable if he got hurt. He was going right after Page. Page was trying to flee, run away, and then Jevon came over the top with this huge dive. You got the holy shit chants from the fans. Jevon Evans was very aggressive with the offense, and he was dominating for quite a bit. He gave Page this cutter on the apron, and then he tried to stomp Page's head into the steel steps, but he missed. Page then drop kicked the steps into Evans's ankle, his leg, and then Page put on the ankle lock. Jevon was able to get to the rope. Evans got hit with the ego's edge from Page. Evans kicked out. And then Evans made a comeback. He went for this springboard move. He bounced off the ropes, and Page just punched him right in the mouth, knocking out the mouth guard that Evans had in his mouth. And it was a great finish there. I loved how this looked. And Page then hit his finisher, the twisted grin, a little move, I guess, in tribute to the twist of fate, the twisted grin. Got the 1-2-3 victory. Good match here. I enjoyed it. I loved the finish with the mouth guard punch. And yeah, Ethan Page picks up a nice win here, which is fine. You know, Jevon will be fine from losing here. He's more of that underdog type character. So yeah, I liked this one. And then next up, we had the NXT World Championship match, which meant that the Women's Championship match was main eventing. We had Oba Femi defending his championship against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. This was another good match. The only thing about this one, predictable. These types of triple threat matches where it's the two guys that are friends against the one guy and they're going to work together. Every single time, it always falls apart. And to me, that's the only negative. Like, we've seen this triple threat story so many times over the years. But they did execute it well. Theory and Waller were entertaining. And yes, of course, they were working together. But as the match went on, they were arguing with each other. And Femi was taking advantage. He was beating the crap out of both of them. But then the steel steps came into play. And because it was a triple threat, once again, anything goes. The steel steps were used on Femi. And then we had them all in the ring. And they did the three-way Tower of Doom spot. The suplex and electric chair drop at the same time. And of course, that always gets a big pop. I mention this every time it happens. It's a guaranteed crowd pop, just like the pull-apart brawls. The crowds always react to it. And later on, the table was brought out, and Oba Femi was placed on the table. Waller came off the top with the flying elbow, but then Austin Theory took Femi into the ring and tried to pin him. This pissed off Waller. Waller got knocked off the apron. And then Oba Femi went back after Waller, put Waller through the announce table, and then Theory tried to pin Femi in the ring, but then Waller pulled out the referee, and then Waller accidentally hit Theory with a stunner. Femi then pinned Waller with the fall from grace. And I forgot to mention this earlier. In the tag match, after the match was over, we had these new NXT guys. They were teasing this for a couple of weeks. This new faction, they debuted and they attacked all four participants in that tag match. And then they showed up once again and they laid out Oba Femi. So what is this faction? I mean, they're obviously four newcomers. I don't recall the names off the top of my head, but they were mentioned on a NoDQ.com post. Part of me felt like, kind of felt like the Shield, but then at the same time, I felt like this is kind of like Retribution. I'm not really quite sure if it's the Shield or Retribution. Hopefully it's the Shield and not Retribution. And yeah, the crowd was chanting, "Who are you?" Yeah, I mean, four newcomers. But this was another good match, the triple threat. And I agree with Ian. I would have liked to have seen a double pin, stack them just like what Roman Reigns did to Bryan Danielson and Adam Copeland at WrestleMania. That would have been cool. Yeah, I guess the jury is out on this new group, and we'll see if they are taken seriously or if they're going to be Retribution 2.0. We had our main event of the evening, Giulia versus Bayley versus Roxanne Perez versus Cora Jade for the NXT Women's Championship. Really good match here. Maybe the best match of the show. Some people think that it was the best match of the year so far. It was a damn good four-way match. Although for me, this was another very predictable one. And almost a similar scenario as the other match where you got Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. They're besties, best friends. And they were going at it, but then there was a period where they were working together. And then, of course, that fell apart. So we got more of that. Lots of near falls, like right off the bat. They were all trying to pin each other, and the crowd was chanting NXT. And then we got some one-on-one time. We even got Giulia and Bayley one-on-one for a bit. And then all four were fighting on the outside. We had a couple of alliances form, and then they would fall apart, of course. And we had a four-way. If you thought a three-way Tower of Doom was going to get a big pop, well, here you do a four-way. And, of course, the crowd loved it. They chanted, "This is awesome." And we got more near falls. Eventually, Giulia came out on top, got the win with the Northern Lights bomb. And then after the match was over, as Giulia was celebrating with her championship, which I'm not surprised that she retained. I mean, once again, in these types of matches where the odds are against the champion usually retains. And also, considering that Roxanne Perez is basically on Raw now, I mean, I think it was very obvious she was taking the fall here, and that she did. So a little predictable, but still really good match. And then afterwards, Stephanie Vaquer came out there with the North American Championship, and I really liked how they ended the show here. So you had both women holding up their titles, and, that would have been a cool moment. You opened with Stephanie winning the title and then Giulia retaining, and then they're both holding up the titles at the end. That alone would have been a cool visual, but then they brought out Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace came out there and had the three-way stare down. So who is she going to go for? Is she going to go for the North American title or go for the women's title of Giulia? I thought this was a great ending to the show. I thought that was very well done. And all in all, I mean, this was 6 matches, which is more than the classic black and gold 5 matches, but 6 matches, 2.5 hours. It clocked in right about 2.5 hours. Like, it flew by very quickly, and it was a fun show. As I always say, I don't think it was at the level of the peak black and gold pay-per-views, but it was still a pretty darn good show. So I am giving it 7 out of 10 points for NXT. Very good show, easy watch, fun show. The women really got to shine on this one. I would have liked some more surprises. Even Jordynne Grace showing up. I mean, we knew she was going to be in NXT. Only real surprise on the show was Trick Williams losing. Beyond that, I think everything was by the numbers. Largely predictable, but still very good wrestling, and things are heating up, especially with the women's division in NXT. And by the way, they did show a video with the new signing, Ricky Starks, but we don't know if he's Ricky Starks or not. They showed him cutting a promo. He did not actually appear on the show in front of the audience. They just aired his little video that he shot during the day. And he will be on NXT this Tuesday to officially sign his contract. So what will his name be? Will it be Ricky Starks? Or are they just teasing everybody right now, and then on Tuesday they're going to milk it, and then he'll say, "My name is Ricky Starks"? I guess we'll see. But yeah, very good show. And before we get to Grand Slam, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm coming back with another edition of No DQ&A video for February. So make sure you guys tune in. You can send your questions now, nodqmisc@gmail.com. Send me your questions, nodqmisc@gmail.com. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Check that out. No DQ&A video returns for the special February edition. Now, I will go ahead and give my thoughts on AEW's Grand Slam event. It took place at like 5:30 Eastern time in the United States. Actually, maybe even earlier than that. I'm not sure. I think it was 5:30. It was already going on when I woke up. So it might have been 5:30 Eastern time, which very early, but I would have gotten up for it if they decided to air it. It's airing, anybody watching this live, it's airing at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere around there on TNT and Max. I'll watch the full thing on Sunday. I'm just going to give my quick thoughts on the results. So here we go. Talking about the results of the show. If you haven't watched it, turn it off now. If you don't know the results, turn off this stream, watch this stream another time to get my thoughts on the matches. So the first match we had was Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega against Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Seemed to have been a really good match. It was a red-hot crowd. Every video I saw, they were very invested. And luckily for AEW, the talent delivered. Luckily for Tony Khan, because when he came out there at the beginning, he was getting booed by the fans, and I saw the video of it. Some fans were pissed because of the whole stadium debacle. You had fans that paid high ticket prices, and this is like the third highest international gate in AEW history, maybe even the second highest gate. I think third after the 2 All-Ins. They had a big gate for the show, but that's because they charged really high ticket prices, and fans bought the tickets expecting a stadium show, and instead, they get this glorified collision that was moved into an indoor arena. And they didn't have the option for refunds. They just were assigned new seats. So yeah, there were some fans that were not happy with Tony Khan, but from what I heard, the show delivered. The fans were very happy with the matches they got. And I did see the finish. They did a really cool ending where Takeshita was hoisted up on Omega's shoulders, and Ospreay came off the top of the hidden blade, and then Omega turned it into the one-winged angel, and they pinned Takeshita, got the 1-2-3 victory. No surprise there. Figured Ospreay and Omega would win this one. And then we had the TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné versus Harley Cameron, and the puppet was involved in the match. Harley Cameron, being a local, she was massively over with the fans. But unfortunately for her, she wasn't able to get the job done. Mercedes retained with the moneymaker finisher. I know people are like, they should have pulled the trigger on Harley. I knew it wasn't going to happen. That's not a Tony Khan thing. He has his vision of what he wants, and I don't think he likes to just change plans because somebody catches fire. Like if that was the case, we would have seen some audibles called. I just don't think that's how Tony Khan does things. He's not the kind of guy that's like, you know what? I sense something here. Let's change it up. He just doesn't come off like that guy to me. And Mercedes might have thrown a fit. Who knows? Who knows what goes on behind the scenes? Maybe not. Maybe Mercedes wanted to put her over, and Tony Khan was like, nah, we're going to stick to my plan. Who knows? But yeah, I wasn't expecting a title change. The question is, will Harley continue to be pushed, or was this just a one-off and she's going to be the new toy that Tony plays for a while, and then when he gets bored, she's back on Rampage not doing anything? We'll see. Then we had the Brisbane Brawl. Jon Moxley and Claudio against Jay White and Adam Copeland. Cope. Now, the crowd was singing Cope's song. I saw the video of this. It was quite the scene. Like the music wasn't playing. You just had, 10,000 fans singing his song. They were loving him. And this match had trash cans, tables, the whole 9 yards, barbed wire chair, and of course, outside interference from Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. And Moxley actually got the win over Copeland with a chokehold. And keep in mind, Copeland is now facing Moxley at the pay-per-view, at Revolution. This was the one result that surprised me. I thought Claudio was going to take the loss here. He was going to be the guy beaten. I was not expecting Copeland to lose to Moxley as the number one contender for the title. That is very interesting. Is Copeland actually going to beat Moxley at Revolution? I'm perplexed by this one. I figured this was going to be an easy win for the good guys, but it was not. And Copeland took the loss here. He did receive a standing ovation afterwards. So yeah, they definitely got me wondering, where is this going at Revolution? Is Copeland going to win the title only for Christian to immediately cash it in on him? I guess we'll see what happens. We had a couple of announcements too. So they added, speaking of Revolution, they added 2 more matches to Revolution. And for some reason, I don't have them in my notes here. And I think it's, I think it's Omega versus Takeshita in a singles match. And I forgot what the other one was. Oh, it was, I think it's a steel cage match. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody out there live knows. I believe it's Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in a steel cage match for Revolution. And then Kenny Omega versus Takeshita for the whatever title he has at this point. International title? I don't even know what the hell. Okada has the Continental title, right? Yes, he does. Yeah, because that's the next match here. So it's the international title, Omega versus Takeshita for that pay-per-view, Revolution. We had our Continental Championship match, Kazuchika Okada versus Buddy Matthews. Matthews was very over in Australia. And I did hear that Rhea Ripley was there, although I think there's a fake photo going around of a Rhea Ripley cosplayer. But apparently she was there in Australia to support Buddy Matthews for this. It was reportedly a very competitive match. And the crowd was chanting wanker at Okada. Okada ultimately got the win. No surprise here. Picked up the win with the Rainmaker. He did hit a low blow. So wasn't a complete clean win for him. And Matthews displayed the Australian flag after the match, got a big ovation from the fans. And then we had our main event of the evening, which was Toni Storm versus Mariah May. Toni Storm, as you could imagine, got this huge ovation from the fans. She came out there with her attire inspired by the Australian flag. And this one was not a surprise. Toni Storm is your brand new AEW Women's Champion. I believe she broke the record. It's like 4 times now. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. Apparently, it was a great match with these two, worthy of being in the main event spot. Toni picked up the win with the Storm Zero. And then after the match, Toni cut this promo. I don't know if they're going to be airing this or not. But Toni spoke to the crowd, talked about how she sat in the crowd with her mother when she was a child, and her mother made her outfit. And then she said it was the greatest honor of her effing life, and she thanked the fans. And people were happy with the title change. And I called this as soon as they announced the Grand Slam Australia, and Toni lost the title at All In. I figured she was off TV for a little bit. Okay, they got what, 6-7 months, so they got to take her off TV for a bit. And that's what they did. I mean, it was pretty obvious to me this is where it was going. I have no problem with it. Let Toni Storm win in Australia. I mean, it's a good moment. And hopefully AEW created some goodwill here with these fans after the whole stadium debacle. They are returning to Australia in 2026. Maybe they're going to run Sydney or something. But yeah. Hopefully for AEW's sake, the fans were satisfied despite what happened, and they'll come back for the return visit. Because as we've seen, the return visits in other areas tend to have a big decline. we'll see what happens. But all in all, from what I heard, very good show. And I will check it out on Sunday, and perhaps I'll talk about it on No DQ&A video. Let me give that one more plug. No DQ&A video Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Tune in for that. Send in your questions, nodqmisc@gmail.com. And that's it. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Say yes to nodq.com, and I will see you all next time.